Hey guys, this video is going to be a long one, but here it is, my retrospective on the MCU, part 1. So, I need you to understand a few things, guys. Well, two main things. I'm going to be going phase by phase with this review for all the movies. Phase 1 and 2 is this video, and phase 3 is the next one. And then after that, all of the TV shows. I'll not be reviewing films and TV shows that I've already reviewed. So, no Black Widow, no Falcon and the Winter Soldier, no Loki, and no WandaVision. The last thing you guys need to understand is my ranking system. First, 5.9 and below is fair ranking. 6.0 to 7.7 means the film is okay to mediocre. The rating 7.8 to 8.6 means the film is good and solid. And then the rating 8.7 to 10 means the film is great. Kicking off the MCU and this review is Jon Favreau's Iron Man. I gotta say, this film is solid. It is surprising how well it holds up today. And it's even more surprising that the film didn't even have a finished script. First of all, the CGI in this film, it's my favorite because, I don't know, it feels so grounded. And speaking of grounded, this is a really good reinterpretation of Iron Man and Tony Stark. I think it's great. The thing that this film has that is the best, though, is its characters and their development. Tony Stark's character development is the strongest single movie character development in the entire MCU. And this film really gives you time to connect with these characters emotionally. And this film was made and directed with so much heart. And I have so much nostalgia for this film. I give Iron Man a 9.6 out of 10. So next is The Incredible Hulk. It's kind of hard for me to review this film. I feel so much nostalgia for this film, and it's my guilty pleasure of the MCU. This film isn't great, but I like it. This is definitely the best Hulk film, and I love how it handles Hulk and the characters of this film. This film isn't great, but it's serviceable. It does what it needs to do, and it's its own standalone adventure. It's still trying to be good, and it's not just trying to be the next installment in a franchise. And I think that's what makes it unique, because it's trying to be unique. I give this film a 7.8 out of 10. Okay, the next film is Iron Man 2. Like The Incredible Hulk, this film is incredibly underrated. I like both of these films, and I really like this film. It still holds up surprisingly well and has proven to be better than some of the newer movies, and a lot better structured than newer movies. This is another solid movie. Unlike the first Iron Man, didn't have to establish a character, redefine a character. But this film, I like how it opens up on Tony Stark and furthers the world building. You can really start relating to Tony Stark, and you start connecting with him even more than you did before. This film isn't great, but there's still meaningful character development, and this film still tries to be something worthwhile, even though the villains aren't great at all. And also, the ending battle is awesome, and Iron Man's Mark 6 suit is I just like that suit. Overall, this film is a further character study of Tony Stark, and a fun, entertaining film that you could just sit back and relax to. I give this film a 7.8 out of 10. Okay, next is Captain America: The First Avenger, which is definitely the most underrated movie in the MCU. I think this film is amazing. First of all, it's a great adventure film in the vein of Indiana Jones, and it is very entertaining. It gives me these pulpy vibes of actual old 1940s Captain America comics that were popular at the time. It's one of those over-the-top World War II movies that are just really fun to watch. And this film, like all films in Phase 1, has so much heart put into it in front of and behind the camera. You really connect with Chris Evans and believe in him as Captain America. This is probably the film in the MCU that I like the most, just genuinely like. I mean, I always find myself watching it, and it's a pretty solid World War II story and a great introduction to the character. I don't know what more I could say about it. You connect with the characters really well. There's phenomenal character development, and it's easy to watch. I give this film an 8.8 out of 10. Upon rewatching this film many times, learning why people love this film, and learning more about film itself, really drilled into my mind that this film is pretty good. This film is genuinely underrated. Not as underrated as other underrated things in this review, but this one was underrated. First, one of the strongest things the MCU has is connecting you with its characters. This film does that great. Something the early MCU and most of the MCU has always done good is the reinterpretations, which is good in this movie, and the characterization of Loki and Thor's relationship. Not all characters in this film are strong, but the ones that need to be are. There are some good themes in this film that aren't in your face. And this film is just fun. It really feels fantastical. And Thor feels like Thor. Thor has a good character development, and this is a good origin. Overall, this film is a lot better than how it is publicly perceived. I was originally going to give this film an 8.0 because it was very solid. But now, I've come to my senses, and I'm going to give it an 8.6. Okay. There's a lot to talk about with this film. Unlike many people, I don't think it has been topped by many other films. Well, there's only one film that has topped this. There has never been anything else like this, and there never will be anything else like this. This movie seemed like it was doomed to fail. This franchise seemed like it was doomed to fail. This movie was the height of this franchise as a franchise, and proved that this franchise could be a franchise, and things like this could happen. There will never be another thing like this, another movie like this, another team-up like this, because it won't be the same. No matter what you think of him, I gotta say, Joss Whedon did a great job with this film. I love how he directed this film. Every shot feels so personal, so important, yet unimportant at the same time. It all feels like it's the same film. All these characters are brought together in such a natural way. They argue and bicker in a natural way. And the character development, characterization, and how they bounce off each other, the arcs that are set up, the arcs that are completed in this film are all great, and it all works. The action is stellar. I used to, when I was 5 to 8 years old, almost every day I'd fast forward this film to the end battle because of how awesome it was. The action in this film is great, and the world building just pays off in this film. All the little hints, everything pays off in this film. Overall, this film is simple, and that's what makes it so good. Everything pays off in this film, and there's very few things wrong with it. I give this film a 9.8 out of 10. Honestly, guys, I loved Iron Man 3. First of all, the themes and character development in this film is phenomenal. The film is all about fear and what it does to people. The Mandarin's only able to manipulate people and gain power because he inspires fear, even though he's just this high little old dude. Tony Stark, everything he does in this film is about fear. It's about Tony Stark's recklessness because he's fearful. And his arc in this movie is pretty good. It's a nice cap off to the Iron Man trilogy. The end sequence, battle sequence is dope. The best part about this film is definitely that it and its direction is unique, and it takes risks, even if some of them with the villains don't pay off. I give this film an 8.4 out of 10. Okay, I'm not going to say what's been said thousands of times about this film by other movie reviewers. This film is way better than it's given credit for, but it's definitely not great. This film has many problems and isn't as watchable as other MCU films. It is actually pretty boring, but there are a few strong moments in this film that could have been good, that signal that this film could have been good. There's not too much to say about this film that hasn't been said already, because this film is dull, boring, and a weak link in the Marvel franchise. I don't really know what more to say about it. Otherwise, I give this film 6.7 out of 10. Though before they were known, I liked the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics. I didn't love the film as much as everybody else did when it first came out. I didn't see the magic that was there, but I can't deny that this film has lots of heart in it and is very solid. Again, this film is a great origin that makes you connect with these characters on a different level. And that is phenomenal. The character arcs and development are so solid in this movie. The really only big problem is the villain sucks. There's not too much more I can say about this film, except for that the soundtrack is amazing and that it is fun. I give this a 9.0 out of 10. I have very, very fond memories of watching Captain America and the Winter Soldier as a kid when it first came out. It was the first MCU movie I got to watch when it first came out, and I loved it. But then, of course, I learned about film more and realized it's great. It's one of the best political thrillers that has been made in a long time. It's a great spy espionage film, and the stakes are so high. And the themes in this film are great. And you guys know how much I love thematic storytelling. The character arc is strong, and you connect with each of the main characters in this film. Black Widow gets fleshed out even further than she was before. One thing I forgot to mention about the first Avengers is each character gets their time to shine and fleshed out. And then this film is thrilling, and then it's action-packed. The Russo brothers did a great job with this film. It is everything Black Widow wishes it could be, and most other MCU films wish they could be. Overall, I give this film a 9.9 out of 10. I have a deep and longing admiration for this film. It was the first MCU film I got to see in theaters, so the experience of this can never be matched by any other MCU film. Me loving this movie and me loving the villain Ultron, who I still love, who's still in my top 3 Marvel villains in the comics, I was able to see this film in a new light. I was able to not hate this film. So it broke my heart when I realized many people hated this film, and I just didn't understand why. I mean, some points could be valid, but I disagreed with them. One of the most common nitpicks in this film is about Ultron. Of course, there's plot holes in this film, and Ultron could have definitely been better, but he serves the story and its themes enough. And the themes are pretty strong in this film and are actually effective. And this film, more than any other, shows the Avengers as a family. They're actually working together, freaking going around the world, saving people, like they were in the comics. And they get to explore the characters in different ways. They get to hint at their backstories, fleshing them out even further, and showing how they do under pressure, and Tony Stark's recklessness and fear being continued. A strength about this film is how it makes the Avengers feel human. And that's part of the theme of this movie. It's genius when you think about it. It's about fear and how humans are afraid of things. They always try to come up with solutions, and they tend to be doomed. This is all exemplified by Tony Stark creating Ultron, who questions the very manner of his existence and his purpose, and takes on his own. The best scene of this movie is commonly overlooked. It is when Vision and Ultron are in a forest, talking. There's so much more I could say about this film, but that's for another video. Okay, the next film I'm going to talk about is Ant-Man. Honestly, there's nothing too spectacular about this movie, except for the fact that it's charming and fun. As long as you know that this movie isn't going to be anything great, isn't going to push any limits, then you're fine. But that's also a downfall of this movie. It's just not great. I like watching it, but it's not great. It has enough charm and character development to be something good, though. This film makes Ant-Man cool. It makes us want to be Ant-Man, like in this picture. Yeah, we all know what Michael Douglas created the suit for. Overall, this film isn't great, but it's a pretty good origin story. And it's solid, so I give this film a 7.8 out of 10. That brings us to the end. I know I'm missing plenty of films, but that will be included in the part 2. And these are just my broad summaries of each of these films. There's plenty more I could have said.